And so, as we look at Lent, many people say it's time for me to give something up. Perfect. But it really should be something that we do in all three areas of Lent. All three areas that the church gives us. So prayer. What is it that we need to do with prayer? What extra do we need to put in to our prayer? You know? And who knows what that is for you? Who knows how you may need to kind of bump that up a little bit? But again, whatever it is, like I said, chapel and divine mercy, Eucharistic adoration, the rosary, more time spent in contemplative prayer, whatever it is, prayer. Fasting. Okay, the church gives us those days of fasting. Certainly, it's good to take those. We need to take those seriously. You know, we need to abstain when we're called to abstain. And certainly, the church isn't too demanding on us. It used to be, back in the early church, every single day was a day of fasting during Lent. Okay, so if we think we have it bad now, that we're asked to fast on Ash Wednesday, Good Friday, we got it pretty easy. Okay? We got it pretty easy. So maybe we need to bump that up in order to more fully experience that power of Jesus Christ in our lives. And then the third thing, obviously, is almsgiving. You know, I don't know if you guys do rice bowls or, you know, those types of things, but how do we remember those who are most in need? You know, again, Jesus Christ hung out with the marginalized. But then that begs the question, if he hung out with the marginalized, are they still marginalized? You know, if Jesus is hanging out with them, obviously they're kind of the in crowd. While everybody else was looking at him going, I don't know. You know? So again, maybe our almsgiving isn't even monetarily. Maybe it's hanging out with that person on campus who you kind of like to stay away from a little bit. You know, we don't necessarily like. It's just funny. I was visiting my internship parish at Little Flower, and there was a woman who always would stop by, and she even comes down to Fostoria. Her name is Bicycle Beth. She was called Bicycle Beth because, well, she always rode on her bicycle. She's schizophrenic, crazy hair, no teeth, smells a little bit. Very fascinating woman. Was very intelligent, by the way. Was valedictorian of her class. Doesn't take her medicine. And so her schizophrenia or her mental illness has really got the best of her. And I still remember walking out the back door of Little Flower at the rectory, and she was staring at me in the porch. I just kind of walked out and I'm like, what are you doing? You know? You're freaking me out. Oh, I didn't say that. But you know, it's like, oh, hi Beth, good to see you. What are you doing here? Good. You know, it was that type of thing. I gotta tell you. And as crazy as Bicycle Beth is, I have really grown to love her. She is a hoot. And when you actually finally do give her the chance to get to know her, despite no teeth, despite, you know, the crazy hair, despite the schizophrenia, you kind of become attached to her. She came to my first Mass at Little Flower. Somebody was tugging on my chasm. And I wonder who that is. Right before the opening procession, Bicycle Beth came to my first Mass. But you know, maybe we give alms in that way. Maybe we don't have the money to give necessarily, but maybe it's the fact that we reach out to somebody who certainly needs it and maybe appreciate them in a way that maybe it's not, you know, maybe the most typical. And so we have to say that we're sorry, not only to other people, but also to God. Also to God, and certainly that's what the sacrament of reconciliation is for. A lot of people say, why do we need to go to a priest? Well, one reason is because it needs to hurt a little bit. Okay? It is easy to sit in our room and say, okay, Lord, I'm sorry that I just did this. Nobody else hears you. And that's a good thing, and I don't want to discount that. Okay? We need to say those private active contritions. And I would encourage anyone who sins to say that act of contrition right there after you sin. But the thing with confession is, it needs to hurt a little bit. Just to do that in your bedroom and say, Lord, I'm sorry. Well, doesn't quite cut it. Typically, the things that are most worth doing in our lives are the things that are the very hardest. That's what I found, whether it's 2-a-days, whether it's carving out more time for prayer, whether it's giving up alcohol for Lent, whether it's whatever it is, giving some of that extra money to the poor, it is supposed to hurt. And so going to a priest at times does hurt because we go, man, I don't want to have to confess that in front of another human being. I got to tell you though, one of the most awesome experiences, and those who go frequently can tell you that. It's an awesome experience to do that. The other thing is, sin hurts not only God, but also the community. The priest represents Jesus Christ. The priest represents the community. And so that sense that our sin hurts other people, we need to go to the priest who represents Jesus Christ and the community. Okay? And again, we know that Jesus gave St. Peter keys to the kingdom. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. And so again, it's one of those things that is tough, but we need to do it. We need to do it. Each Lent, I make the practice for my own self to watch the Passion of the Christ. I've seen it a ton of times. But every time I watch it, I'm more convinced of the need for confession. Because when I see what Jesus Christ did for me, that makes me want to get my butt to the confessional right then and there. Because that movie so powerfully and accurately portrays what Jesus Christ did for us. It's a powerful, powerful film. I'm sure most of you have seen it, but it's a great thing to do each Lenten season. Reconciliation is a gift. It's a gift from our Savior for a number of reasons. It's a gift because, one, the weight of our sin is too heavy to bear alone. We need to get that off of our chest. Two, it's a gift because sin can make us completely bitter and unhappy people. We all have run into people who are like, and you're like, whoa, what happened to you? More often than not, it's something that's weighing on them that they really need to get off their heart and off their chest. Reconciliation is a gift because we need to talk things out. Now, I understand I am a raging extrovert, and I love to talk, okay? But even the biggest introvert needs to talk things out. And so we need to get those things out. Here's a little statistic. Prior to the drop-off in confession, after the Vatican Council, very few Catholics needed to go to a psychologist. Not kidding. Because confession acts in that way. I'm not a licensed psychologist, okay? But, I can give you a little helpful hints of advice, and I try to do that, and I try to do that accurately, okay? So a lot of people didn't need psychologists because, frankly, they were going to confession. Now the number of Catholics going to a psychologist has picked up a little bit. Reconciliation is a gift because we need accountability. That's one of the greatest things about confession. We have somebody, I go to one confessor each month, and he knows me through and through, and I can look him in the eye and say, messed up on that again. But I'm going to tell you, it keeps me working at it. It keeps me trying to get better at it. Okay? We need that person that we can go to keep us accountable. We need support, frankly. I still remember in high school, not thinking that I could ever be a priest. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so sinful. How can God call a sinner like me to be a priest? Okay? And I still remember going to Father Bill, going to confession to him, and him saying, you know what, Eric, God only has sinners to work with. It's true. He only has sinners to work with. So, if we're looking for the perfect people to be priests or sisters or married people, good luck. Good luck. And so again, God only has sinners to work with. We need that support. We need that support in confession